Lagos State Police Command had on Tuesday declared that it had arrested over 200 suspects for their involvement in looting of the COVID-19 palliatives and paraded the suspects and the items recovered from them and some other properties. Some other state governors has also called on residents to return the looted items to the warehouses or risk arrest and prosecution. In fact, some other state governors have actually decided to do a house-to-house search. With us in the studio to discuss this COVID-19 palliatives and in the defense of looting, we have Barrister Adebayo Akinlade. It's a pleasure having you on Sahara TV, sir.
Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Let me ask you point blank, how will you view the so-called looting of COVID-19 palliatives at warehouses across the country during the recent protest in the country?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. Like I was just sending some messages to my friend now, and I was wondering how come there was a coordinated looting across state lines. It leaves much to be desired. There are a lot of questions on my mind. But when I see people going after food, I kind of not very judgmental about what they are doing or why they are doing what they are doing.
Now, the so-called looting, so to say, can it be justified under the present circumstances, under any circumstances?
Well, it depends. In a state where there is unrest and people go about looting, the questions are asked that what are they looting or who owns what they're looting. Now, in the legal community, we've been arguing about this. Definitely looting is a crime. It's tantamount to stealing. But then the elements of proving stealing may not necessarily exist in these circumstances, especially where what the people are looting or what they are converting belongs to the people. So there are a lot of questions to be asked right now, but definitely the looting of food may be justifiable, but the looting of other things may not be justifiable. For instance, I hear in some states they took some tractors. Now, those kind of things may not be justifiable, where you go in and take shoes and clothes. You go into a shop and you loot shoes and bags and products like that, may not be justifiable. But when it comes to food, there might be a slight interpretation of the law on that. But when it comes to other things, there probably won't be any justification for looting a printer, for instance, or like we saw some looting in the courts. There won't be any justification for carrying out a fan or things like that.
Let me take you up on this statement that you made. I'm going to read this. You said, those who looted at Treasury are roaming the streets free, while those who are suspected of looting items as little as a printer or COVID-19 palliatives are now to spend days in prison detention. And you say they shouldn't protest. Could you expatiate more on this?
Well, like I said, there are some things that occur to me. I'm a very deep thinker, and I find it very unfortunate that arrests were made almost immediately and almost very promptly and effectively. Meanwhile, we've been investigating the so-called corrupt officials for decades, and we've not been able to even find anything, to prosecute them with. And it's kind of upsetting. We're all living in neighborhoods where civil servants or public servants build malls, they build hotels, and we know they can't afford these things on their salaries. And we go for government services and we have to pay a bribe to get something done. We bid for contracts and we have to pay big kickbacks. We have situations where people's pensions are not being paid and the monies are being diverted. And we know these people working in this area. We know the people responsible for this. And yet they're roaming the streets free. But in a few days, you see people going after food and are angry and doing so many things, and then in a few days you gather up 500 people. The same police that were nowhere to be found to protect to protect these malls that were looted, or protect our courts and government houses and government establishments that are looted, suddenly come out of the blue and they've arrested 500 people. Now that must be the most effective police we had in the 48-hour period. I mean, where are these police people? We need them to start getting, the corrupt officials also, arresting them, and then maybe we should remand them also pending investigations.
Now, earlier in the week, the Nigerian Governors Forum, released a statement titled "Governors and the COVID Palliatives," and they made this in the statement that the erroneous impression in the public domain that these palliatives were hoarded is not just inaccurate, but it's erroneous and untrue. As a matter of fact, giving reasons for why those palliatives were not distributed, they alluded to the fact that some states had not participated in the flag off ceremonies for the distribution of palliatives for their states, and that these states are not, some states have not even completely received anything. I mean, most of these palliatives, so to say. And they also alluded to the fact that some states still had palliatives in their warehouses, chose to keep a strategic reserve ahead of a projected second wave of the COVID-19. What's your reaction to this? To the reasons why these palliatives were not actually distributed to the people?
Well, I can't actually say, but I can say that most of our governments have the worst advisors ever. How can you come out and say such a thing in a tense environment, in an environment where people are starving already? You see, there's no rationalizing it. I mean, it's easy for me, if I have food in my house, to tell somebody else to be patient, or don't worry, or the church balance we use these days is it is well. Of course, it is well because you yourself are comfortable. But to explain, um, wish away the doubts that people have in the administration generally, by just saying that, oh, this is the excuse. I mean, there is no excuse you can ever give in regard to keeping food in storehouses. You're talking about events that have not happened. You're talking about flagging off ceremoniously, giving people food. You want to flag up what? I mean, the people are hungry. They don't care about putting ribbons on an Indomie noodles package, or you hand. They just want the food. They don't even care how they get it. They just want it because so some people, it's let me eat and die. But when you have food stored up somewhere, while you have food in your homes, and telling people, understand, we're trying to get this done or get that done, nobody's going to believe you. Even if you're saying the truth, nobody's going to believe that.
These palliatives are meant for the poor people, but they kept them without anyone's knowledge while the poor are dying of hunger. I mean, could they be holding it for personal gains? And they've not even accounted
Well,
for how many people actually receive the palliatives, so to speak. Isn't it the highest level of
exactly. I mean,
insensitivity to the human plight and the highest crime against humanity?
well, of course it is. I mean, something about the rich and powerful, they always forget. Uh, for instance, you talked about hoarding it. Yes. Who are the laborers that put those palliatives in the warehouse? They are the poor people. Who are the carpenters that build the houses for the rich people? They are poor people, the laborers. The rich and the powerful always forget that they need these lower class people. And they think that they live in high fence buildings, and they don't know the vulnerability of their existence, because everything they stand on is on the backs of these poor people. And once they rise up, you're going to fall like a pack of cards. So you need to respect these people. You need to appreciate what they do for you. Like somebody said, in a nice movie I watched, he asked for a penny. And the person replied, well, you're a millionaire. Why are you asking me for a penny? And the man replied, how do you think I stay a millionaire? Because, I mean, what we all understand, to stay a millionaire, to stay powerful, you need the poor. you need the vulnerable. You need to put them in a state where they need to come back to you every time to make anything happen for them. So they hoarded the food. Why? Because they want to have the upper hand. They want to be able to dish out the food when they want, how they want it, so that you can still come back to them. You can still need them for something. So, but it's quite unfortunate. People have risen. People have seen what is going on, and it will take a while for any rich person or politician to give an excuse for anything.
The mass arrest and detention of suspected COVID-19 palliative looters across the states of the Federation is set to threaten the federal government's plan to decongest correctional facilities, detention centers. And the country also stands the risk of a spike and rebound of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic. What's your take on this? Do you agree?
I was a bit concerned, and I placed calls to several agencies to verify or to confirm what I had seen. And my first reaction, of course, was, where are they going to put all these people? And it's unfortunate. It's I don't even I can't even begin to try to understand why this is happening. I even got information that they didn't have access to lawyers, and a remand order was given. And it seems to me that between the police, the Attorney General's office, and the judiciary, it seems like there's no coordination, nor a appreciation of what is going on right now. Because on one hand, you have a governor trying to apologize to everybody. You have a governor that is trying to say, okay, whatever you've taken, bring it back. And then on the other hand, you have all these people that you have thrown in the mix. We do not even know what crimes they've committed yet. All we heard is that you've packed them together, and now you have sought a remand order pending investigation. So that means that you're just investigating, which means you don't even know what these people have done yet, or you have not established any criminal ingredient or any criminal charges against them yet. So it's quite unfortunate that we're doing this at this time. This is the wrong signal. This is government sending the wrong signal back to the people.
Do you foresee a clash between the jurisprudence of the law as it is now and the responsibility of the state to its citizens, considering the fact that there is a sense of entitlement and ownership on the part of the suspects over the palliatives they got?
Yeah, one of my colleagues had alluded to that, and in fact, I thought that was very insightful thinking on his part. I had not even considered it that way. But yes, the judiciary is going to have a very, everybody's going to be looking at the judiciary to see how they treat this matter. And I don't feel sorry for the magistrate or the judges that are going to decide this, because this is going to be very, very difficult thing for them to adjudicate upon. Because on one hand, you have government interest, and on the other hand, you also have the individual's interest. And the role of the judge is to do justice between the two. So how they're going to go about doing it. But for me, I can easily just say, look, return what you've looted. If it's not food, return it, and then go your way. I mean, just don't do it again. And we have a criminal register. I mean, we have a crime scene. I think it's a criminal something registry. Put them on that registry because they violated the law. But then also consider why they've done it. Like I said, once it is food, let them go. If it's not food, then have them return these things, because they're just a lot of them are just petty crimes. A lot of them, these things they've taken. I mean, a bunch of clothes and shoes may not be worth more than 10,000 that these people have taken. So you don't need to embolden the process of judicial education based on that. Some of these people can be put on community service. There's so many things that our laws has provided for under this kind of circumstances. So for the judge or the magistrate to find a balance in this is going to be a very interesting thing that everybody is going to be watching, and everybody has a sense of justice in them, and they will know if there's injustice being done.
Um, Earlier on, you talked about the fact that there's no synergy between among the police, the attorney generals of the states, and the government itself. Taking a focus on the police, you have been involved in training the police for years, and I'm sure not only in Nigeria, you've done this overseas as well. Yet Nigerians are not seeing the results of those training. There seems to be a disconnect between those who, the officers who actually receive training and those who are on the ground executing the duties of the police. Why is that?
Well, I think another thing, it's a thing that we have a problem with in Africa, where we do a lot of training, the trainers program, and we believe that once you've been trained, you will train other people. But then we have a sense of even hoarding knowledge amongst us, and you find somebody who is committed to changing things with his knowledge. They are not given the opportunity to do so. So, and why is that? Because we have a leadership that itself is uninformed. I mean, if you take political parties from the grassroots, who do you find in political party meetings? There are those who are not well informed and whose knowledge base is very low. You get there and you try and tell them that this is what should happen, but they don't listen to you because they only know what is within their own region and what is within their own locality. Now, a lot of people that have this superior knowledge, they are being despised, and I can't blame them. I can't blame those who despise them, because look at the quality of education. In the days that I went to school, Jack Conde started free education. My father moved me out of private school and put me in a government school. Now, those days have gone. I mean, there was no free education anymore. I mean, even if you enter the school free, you would have to buy books. You would have to do a lot of things. So you find that the disparity between those who have knowledge and those who don't is very. I mean, it's a great distance. And when we train, when we train the police, you find that those who come for the training are at the higher cadres of police force. Now they don't have the opportunity to go and be trained. And there's a lot about mentorship that we're not doing. There's a lot about apprenticeship that we're not focused on. So it's not enough to just train them and get them out of class. The question is, who do these people understudy in the field? That's another thing. I mean, you can tell them, oh, this is the law. 1999 Constitution says this. Oh, when you arrest, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You describe it to them. But on the field, it's a completely different thing. The question is, are your lecturers or your teachers on the field with you, seeing how you go about arrest, seeing how you go about taking the statement of an accused person, seeing how you do your investigation? There's a lot of open-ended questions here, and like somebody rightly said, it cuts across the entire society. Are you going to blame the teachers? Are you going to blame the students? Who are you going to blame? So it's something that we must look in depth into. We must resolve. We must resolve not to think about our current situation or ourselves currently. We must resolve to start thinking about 2 generations ahead of us.
All right, Sir Akinlade, thank you very much for your insights, and we hope we can call you again as these issues continue to unfold. Thanks a lot.